Inside this building behind me is over 188 kilometers of rock core, and this is a crucial record for geologists, climatologists, and so many different types of researchers that'll help uncover so many secrets of Earth's history, and maybe even tell us something about the future. Today, we are going to get a peek inside and a tour from the person who runs it. I'm at the University of Bremen to talk to the person in charge of taking care of all of this rock taken from beneath the seafloor for decades. This rock has been harvested by scientific drilling ships like the JOIDES Resolution in the form of rock cores, aka tubes of rock pulled from miles beneath the seafloor. And they're the keys for everything from climate research to understanding life in extreme conditions. And Ulla is the person to talk to if you want to understand exactly what's here.
My name is Ursula Röhl. Everybody calls me Ulla, and I'm a senior researcher here at MARUM, Center for Marine Environmental Science at the University of Bremen.
How many cores do you actually have here, or do you know the length in kilometers of cores that you have?
A little bit over 188 kilometers of core at the BCR right now, and they come from 105 expeditions. This is the heart of the Bremen Core Repository, the reefer. 290,000 of D-tubes in the main reefer here.
Where are we right now?
Yeah, right now in the entrance hall of the MARUM. So welcome you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All these cores are archived, and you see we just had new cores coming in from another expedition. So these are the brown cardboard boxes for student assistants already pulling out new cores for sampling currently in the labs.
Very cool.
These are, for example, cores from Expedition 401, the working halves which are needed for the sample party. The collection starts with DSDP leg 2, and so this is in this aisle, and then it goes numerical all the way to the back and then continues on the other side, comes up front.
Why do we have this core repository here? I know we have a few of them, right?
Yeah, there are just 3 repositories in the world. So one in the Gulf Coast Repository in College Station, Texas, and the Kochi Core Center in Japan, and here the Bremen Core Repository. It was founded in 1994, and we store all the cores ever collected with scientific ocean drilling in the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans, the Mediterranean, Black and Baltic Seas. In this area there are movable racks. You have to keep in mind the ceiling is 6 meters high here, and the racks are 5.5 meters high, so it's a big burden which is moved around. And then the working halves are in the lower section because we more frequently need to get to reach the working halves, and then the archive halves with the red caps are on top. Forklifts and how do you call this in English?
Yes.
A lift to go all the way up to pull out cross sections.
So is it all manually done if you have someone request? Almost like a library, someone goes up and pulls the book, the core?
Yeah.
Very cool. And so do you know where your favorite core is in here?
I know it's here.
Yeah.
So very important. In the top of the core there's always a blue cap.
Okay.
It's the blue sky, so easy to remember. And in the lab and everywhere we always try to keep top to the left. And so this is the bottom, so this is older and this is younger material. And this is a very nice example of the famous stratigraphic boundary and event, the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. Initially it was only known, this was in the early 90s, it was only known as a benthic foraminifera extinction event. And so this was, for example, related to an event of a lot of carbon. So it's very, very interesting.
What are some of the other things people have learned from the big discoveries from the cores in here?
I mean, in general, cores are recording everything what happened at the time the sediment was deposited. You know, it's like a big book and you read page by page if you look at layer by layer in a given core.
Yeah, I know you mentioned it's pretty easy to find where all these cores are. Would you mind talking a little bit about the tagging system, kind of like, is it similar to the Dewey Decimal System for people who might know or know libraries?
Maybe we go into another
Yeah,
aisle.
that would be great.
Yeah. We look at an example of a working half here, and there are barcodes on this, but there's always the Ocean Drilling Program's ID on the cap. And so we see a number for the expedition, or leg in this case 177, then the next number is the location, the site, so this is hole A, and then the core. So this is core 16, so you can already tell from this there are 15 cores above it, so it's you know, you can get an estimate of the depth, penetration depth in the seafloor about it. And then it's a coring type, the age, that's the advanced piston corer, for example. And then because the 9.6 meter core is always, when it arrives on board on the catwalk, it's cut into 1.5 meter core sections for easier handling. And so this is the second section of this core.
Just to talk a little bit about the future for all of this, you have so much core. Is it going to be here forever? And like, how would researchers in the future take use of all of this big record that you have?
Yeah, the most important thing is to continue to serve the scientific community, and we want to make it as easy as possible. That's why we also working together very closely, the 3 core repositories. This reefer, as you can see, is there's a lot of core in there, but we already planned years ago for a new reefer, and this reefer is in the new building, which is about to open in a couple of months, and we have a new reefer, so to look forward to more cores to come in the next phase of scientific ocean drilling. In this area we temporarily store the samples which have been already taken during this sample party. Currently we are in the, on the morning of the 3rd day, but you can see there are already thousands of samples have been taken.
Why do you like working on all of this?
Because I'm scientifically curious. So I feel very privileged that my work is so interesting and that every day brings some new information and insights, and it never stops, because you know you are never done. You know, a lot hasn't been drilled in all the oceans, so, and it's so important, and it can tell us so many things, not just for science itself, but also for modern life and for the future of people and so on.
So who are these scientists who use these rocks for their research? Well, meet the scientists of Expedition 401 who sailed aboard the JOIDES Resolution, collecting these rock cores for their research.
Hi, my name is Clara Bletler, and I work at the University of Chicago. We are sampling some of the cores that we recovered during our expedition. We have little sample bags, and the research projects require taking some material from these cores, further studying in the laboratories. And so we are going in and following the instructions and the depth intervals. We're taking little volumes of the mud and sediment and storing it where they're going to be shipped to the other labs for work.
And how did day one go for you?
Day one was great. We were pulling 2 shifts here of 7 hours each. So at the end of the day, it was quite tiring after being on your feet all day and moving these cores around and trying to cut into them if they're a little bit hard. But it was nice to see everybody from the expedition again and connect with people we haven't seen in a long time. There are 3 repositories around the world that store these cores, and our cores from the Mediterranean and Atlantic ended up here in Bremen. And so they have a refrigerated area there where they store them, and they'll be stored here for the future, for future generations of scientists to come and access these same materials. I'm not taking any samples here for me, but I'll depend on other people's samples who will take them, process them, and then send them my way. So there's a lot of collaborative efforts here. We're trying to preserve the material as much as possible and share it amongst the scientists who have overlapping interests.
And what's that sample specifically that you're pulling out right now? Do you know?
This is a sample for Javier, who's working right over here, and he's identified certain areas that had interesting sedimentological features. and so I'm to do some analyses on what these sediments look like in more detail. We're doing well here, we're making good progress, and hopefully by the end of the week we've gotten everything that we came here for.
So thanks to Ulla and the University of Bremen for giving me this tour of this amazing rock library, and a huge shout out to the scientists of Expedition 401, who I actually got to sail with in December of 2023 to February of 2024 on Expedition 401, seeing these rocks brought up from the ocean floor. It was amazing to be able to be there and see these rock samples now be able to serve science for many decades to come. And if you like this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below what your favorite rock is, because I'll have plenty more space science and pinball content coming in the future.